There we go.
Now it's on.
And it's saying it's recording.
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. All right. We just let everyone in, so I won't say too much right now, but welcome everyone. We're so glad you're here. We're going to get started in a couple minutes. Going to let people continue to come in. You can introduce yourself in the chat in the meantime.
Yeah, we'll do things just a touch differently today. So introduce yourself in the chat. Feel free to type your name, but then tell us where you're from using that binary code alphabet. You can see an example on the screen there. It's for me. Hi, I'm Todd, and I'm from 0111110010. You can use that binary code alphabet on the right-hand side of the screen and introduce yourself.
Love people are coming in. Hi, everyone. For those just joining us, we are introducing ourselves in the chat by using binary code to say where we're from. So Todd gave an example there. Oh, I love it. People are figuring it out. You're all very fast.
And if you see anyone from the same location as you, give them a shout out.
Oh, Krista and Betsy, are you from the same state? Do you want to explain it one more time for people just coming in, Todd?
For sure. So in the chat, put your name, introduce yourself, but then don't tell people directly where you're from. Please encode that or encrypt that in using the binary code alphabet. So I'm seeing some examples. I figured out what California is because I've seen some folks joining from California.
Yeah, I guess what would someone from a different country do? It's the first couple letters.
Be creative.
Yeah. Spell out the whole country in binary code. I actually just learned about binary code.
Belgium. Wow.
Linda.
All right.
Oh my gosh, Brian.
There we go.
That's amazing.
Cool.
That's
Well,
awesome.
I'm so happy that you all have joined us, and I think we have a really great session planned today. And feel free to dig back through that chat and figure out some other people's locations.
Yeah, maybe since I'm going to be moving on to the next slide, if you haven't done yours yet, screenshot it real quick. And
that's good.
then whenever you can in the chat. So I'll give a second to screenshot and then we'll get started. Like Todd was saying, we have a lot of great content to go through today about cybersecurity. So I'll try to make my part real quick. I am Cassie. I am in California. I'm the marketing manager, and I am part of the team that puts together webinars and finds wonderful speakers like Pauline, who you'll meet, and Todd, who's on our team here at Sphero. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide just to go through some housekeeping items, and I'll go quick. Like I said, this session is 45 minutes long, so we will be out of here real quick, but you're going to learn a lot. We're going to share the recording after the session. So since you registered, we'll be sending that to your email. And in this webinar format, your audio is muted and your camera's off, so don't worry about that. In the chat, you can communicate with us and other educators. And then in the Q&A, if you have questions for our presenters, and we also have people from the Sphero team ready to answer questions about Sphero. So go ahead and put those in the Q&A, and we'll either answer those right there or we'll save it for our hosts to answer. And then, as you may have seen, we will be giving away a Bolt, and the giveaway winner will be announced at the end. So we stick around for that. All right, and we'll get right into it. So actually, I'm going to go through what we're going to go through, and then I'm going to introduce our speakers. So we're going to talk about what cybersecurity is, why it's important, and why it's important to teach to kids in general, and then how you can teach cybersecurity with Sphero Bolt. This is new for us. We just launched these, and I won't give away too much, but really excited to share those with you. And with that, I want to have our speakers introduce themselves. We have Pauline first here up on the screen, Dr. Pauline Mosley. So would you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much, Casey. I'm so happy to be here with you for this informative session. My name is Pauline. I've been teaching, I'm a full professor and associate chair at Case University in New York on the Pleasantville campus, and I've been there for 21 years, but I've been teaching for over 30 years. And some of the courses that I teach are programming, Python, JavaScript. I also do a little bit of database design, MySQL, systems analysis, web design and development, just to name a few. I teach on the undergrad, the grad, and I also am an advisor to doctoral students, in particular the young women who are trying to achieve and obtain their PhD. But my passion is really unpacking cognitive concepts and making them very simple for everyone to understand. So I'm very excited to be working, to be part of this wonderful session today to explore and explain and unpack the mysteries behind cybersecurity. So welcome.
So happy to have you, Pauline, a true expert in this, and so excited to hear what you have to say. And Todd, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Todd Johnston. I'm an education content manager here at Sphero. And so that means I spend my days curating and creating activities and programs that teachers and students can use with Sphero robots in the classroom. My background is as a classroom teacher. I spent 10 years as a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teacher in Oregon and in California. And over the past 3/4 of a year, we've been working closely with Pauline on these cybersecurity activities, and I've been learning a lot, and we've been having a lot of fun. So we're happy to share it with you today.
Thanks, Todd. And so Pauline, now I'll let you take over. We're going to have everyone respond in the chat, but I'll let you explain a little bit about that.
Thank you so much, Casey. So what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear of cybersecurity? We would like you just to take a minute or two and to please just drop that into the chat. What is cybersecurity? What do you think it means? Okay, and if some of the folks from Sphero can just tell us a few things of what they're saying, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, protecting data online, stopping the hackers, keeping your PII safe, stealing identity, keeping safe online. Lots of things about safety and security of data and encryption.
Awesome, so let's just jump right in it. So can we have the next slide, please, Casey? Thank you so much. So the actual textbook or technical definition of what cybersecurity is, one of them, because there's so many variants, but we're going to use the one from Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is pretty much what all of you are saying, but in a more technical terminology, cybersecurity is nothing more than how computer systems, electronic devices, and their users are protected from theft, damage, disruption, or misdirection of the services they provide. Now, if we're going to break this down, like I said, unpack this into terms that we can understand and that you can share with your students and share with others, we would define it as such. We can have the next slide, please. I like to think of cybersecurity as a digital locker. This is something that most kids can relate to, a locker or a cubbyhole, because it's physical, and students know that when they go to school and they put their belongings either in a cubbyhole for younger kids or a locker, they expect at the end of the day or during the day that their possessions or whatever they put in that locker is going to be safe. Also, the cubbyhole doesn't really have a locker per se, but they expect the teachers there watching it and no one's going to take their belongings. However, in the digital locker, as you see in this photo, there is a locker there, and each student has a combination, and that combination protects them. So one way to kind of explain this concept of cybersecurity, being safe with kids, is that electronic devices are very similar to that of lockers. They provide storage for our information and our personal information. The devices, they don't have locks on them, they have passwords, and they may even have other required security measures that they would be there to ensure that their data is safe and it's not going to be stolen and it's not going to be misused. So this brings us to the next question, if we can have the next slide, which is, why is cybersecurity so important? Why is there so much hype about cybersecurity? So again, we want you to take 30 seconds. Please drop in the chat, why do you think cybersecurity is important? Okay. And again, I'm going to ask the Sphero folks and Todd to please tell me what are some of the things people are saying as to why they feel it's so important.
Well, I'm getting two responses back to back. One is like to protect yourself and your data. And then the very next response said to protect everyone, which I thought were the juxtaposition between those two responses was great. Privacy, to keep users safe, keep personal protection, cyber attacks. There's more and more cyber attacks. We need to learn how to protect ourselves and others.
Okay.
Yeah, valuable. That's a good one too.
Excellent. It's like you're reading our slides.
Yeah.
So we're going to go right
It
in
is.
our first slide. And yes, thank you for those awesome answers and participation. So the first reason, we're going to just touch on 3 reasons. The first reason, if we can have the next slide, please, Casey, is personal digital hygiene, which I believe someone did mention. I don't think the slide is showing yet, but it will come up soon. Thank you. Okay, so this one, as many of you mentioned in the chat, which is very important, cybersecurity, why it's so important today is because young children and anyone that interacts with an electronic device or is doing some sort of communication on the internet really needs to know how to protect and keep themselves safe online. So I want to give you a question here. How many K through 12 children do you think gave their phone number to a stranger? So just give me a percentage of how many children, K through 12, gave their phone number, do you think gave their phone number to a stranger?
Getting everything from 100%, 10%, 50%, 50%. Looks like a majority of people are saying over 50%, a majority. I hope 0, but I think 75. That's a good one.
Well, you are correct. You are correct in your assumption. Thank you, Todd. It is actually 53%. That's astounding. And what we find even further astounding is 78% of that 53% were girls. And out of that 53%, 15% of these children tried to meet with a stranger. So this is why, the first reason why this is so important because it can save lives. Everyone needs to know how to conduct themselves and how to demonstrate good ethical decisions in respect to technology and the internet. And yes, it is horrifying. Someone said, yes, it is horrifying. And that's why today's session is very informative. And we want you to be aware that everyone needs to be digitally responsible for what they do and how they respond on these electronic devices. Can we please have the next slide? The second reason is digital citizenship. The next slide, please, Casey, I'm sorry. And in this next, the second reason why it's important to understand cybersecurity is so that we can and you can educate and demonstrate ethical online behavior for the community. And that's what some of the other people were saying. Some people said in the chat, first, it's about digital hygiene, but then our second reason is to not only take care of yourself, but when you understand this, you can actually help and protect your friends, which we call digital citizenship. This is helping to keep the community safe by being kind, by understanding how to respond to cyberbullying, understanding what is appropriate online, and what those interactions look like, and how to make good ethical decisions online.
Hold on, Pauline, we're going to try and switch the screen. Cassie seems to be having some challenges, so I'm going to share my screen.
Sure, no problem, but thank you all. Yes, this is it. When I started to prepare for this wonderful session, when Sphero asked me to shed some insight and I began to get the latest statistics, I too was horrified as someone put in the chat that so many young children were becoming victims to this. And so I'm so happy that Sphero is seeing the urgency of this and recognizing the need and the danger of this, is taking time to educate the community at large on the seriousness of cybersecurity. I've always seen it from an educational standpoint of view, but this is now on the flip side because we want to keep our children safe. They are our most precious commodity. So, like I said, this was digital citizenship. And the third reason is for future-proof cybersecurity careers. This is also an important field to know, that cyber jobs, this industry of cybersecurity and this whole discipline is booming by the seams. And so this discipline needs more women to represent them and voice the issues relating to good security practices with respect to women. And that also we have these wonderful different types of careers. So you will see on our next slide, we have listed for you just a sampling, because there's so many variants and combinations of jobs that need to be managed in this booming and growing field. But this is just a sampling, and the salaries are not too bad, not too shabby. So we hope that these are some of the reasons for this particular type of forum today. So before we go on further, we want to pause again and ask you, are you teaching cybersecurity? And if so, what are you using? Please just drop that in the chat. We would love to know.
Thank you, Lori. You have field tested some of these labs for us. I really appreciate it. Good. Common sense media education. We're going to mention them later. Excellent. Excellent.
If you haven't taught yet, you're in the right place. They've made it really easy.
Oh, that's cool. Made your own resources about analyzing fake sites. Code HS. Using their curriculum. Common Sense Media through code.org. David Ackerman says always made own resources. Good work.
Awesome. Well, we're hoping to share with you today some of the things that we've we're doing, and hopefully this will give you some ideas on how you can begin to teach cybersecurity. What you see here is a Camp CryptoBot, a Gen Cyber grant that I received in 2016, which Gen Cyber is an organization sponsored by the National Security Agency and also the National Science Foundation to promote cybersecurity awareness and also to encourage more youth, in particularly women, to go into this particular field. So I was very fortunate since 2016 to have been awarded this grant several times. And what you see on the flyer is Camp CryptoBot, a way we try to teach my staff, and I try to teach cybersecurity principles. However, since the inception of receiving this grant, we've been trying all different variants because cybersecurity concepts are abstract. However, one of the things we're very happy to have come upon is the BOLT. The BOLT in 2021, which you see here, we ran a virtual camp using a platform called Huvulu. And using the BOLT, we were able, even though we taught this remotely from 60 students, 2 countries and 12 different states. It was the most successful experience we've had, even far surpassing the in-person because of the BOLT, being able to teach cybersecurity concepts, which you're going to see. If we can have the next slide, please.
And Pauline, just really quickly, one thing I noted from your digital locker comment earlier is the idea of a digital locker is something physical. And I wonder if that having this Sphero Bolt be physical is what was really helpful in terms of making some of these often invisible concepts more physical, more tangible.
Absolutely. In the past, we've tried teaching the cybersecurity with Raspberry Pi. We tried it with Python. We tried it with coding, hackathon, all different types of other very good educational tools. But as Todd says, having something physical that kids could actually see and relate really solidified many of these concepts. So this is just a schedule to show you our Zoom day of what we did and how we did it for your reference. So I'll move to the next slide. I'll be happy to take questions at the end on the schedule of that. When we ask students, particularly what do they want to learn, here is an array of different responses. They just wanted to understand cybersecurity. They want to know how to keep the information safe. And how do you demonstrate keeping information safe? Well, the BOLT has the solution for that. We can have the next slide, please. So you'll see one of the ways we did first was we connected students to each other. We had a little competition and we told students to take a picture of their workspace because that was important before we even introduced BOLT into their workspace. So that's what you see here. If we can have the next slide, please. We also connected them to cybersecurity professionals and let them talk about their careers, their experiences as well. And as you can see from this picture, there's only one female there. And this is why this camp and these sessions are so informative and why we need to get more and more women in this pipeline. Next slide, please.
Yeah, and then this one, Pauline, I was just thinking that the average teacher may not have access to as many cybersecurity professionals as you do, but even within school districts, there are cybersecurity professionals at your school, most likely in terms of the IT department or in your communities working with businesses in your communities.
Right. I saw someone wrote in the chat, what books do we use? This gentleman here, Sam Grubb, he writes a wonderful book on cybersecurity. Maybe you might have a copy of the book, Todd?
Yeah, I do.
Fantastic. Just so happen to have it.
It looks like this. What
yes.
How cybersecurity really works.
It's an excellent book. I really endorse that book. He explains it in very layman terms. And if you want, I can give you his contact information at the end of this. He's willing to come through Zoom or in person and discuss his book with the students, which he did at the camp. These are some principles. These are the concepts and principles of cybersecurity. We call abstraction, minimization, domain separation, layering, simplicity. All of these are very, very abstract concepts that are very challenging for the teacher to try to get the student to understand. However, with Bolt, and you're going to see in the second half, which Todd is going to take you through, these very abstract concepts become very easy for students to understand, because Bolt, being a hands-on robotic application, can actually demonstrate these abstracts, which are sometimes hard for students to understand in an actual textbook. And this is what I found so exciting and so exhilarating, because more students were beginning to understand and comprehend very complex cognitive cybersecurity concepts very easily through the simple demonstration of this wonderful tool, which is the Bolt.
We have a little video here. Let's see if this plays. Just about, I don't think there's sound, so you feel free to talk over it, Pauline.
Sure. So we have learned about cryptography. One of the things is keeping information safe. And you did this earlier in our icebreaker with binary. When we code and we decode things, you want to send a message to someone, right? And you don't want someone to know what you're saying, you encode it. And you can encode it in a variety of ways. And so in this camp, the students learn how to send messages back and forth, which we call cryptography. And what he's showing you is Pigpen, the Pigpen ciphers. There's many different ways, like this, what you did was binary, there's a Caesar cipher, there's a Pigpen cipher, there's substitution ciphers, a veneer ciphers, all different types of ciphers one can use. And these ciphers are precursory to understanding what your computer does, because when your computer sends a message, it doesn't just send the message, it has to encode it to make sure that it's secure, so that if someone tries to intercept that message, they wouldn't understand that message, or it'd be very difficult for them to do so. So thank you, Todd. Next slide, please.
Yep. So next slides are really about where you can get started. And first and foremost, we really want to acknowledge what we just saw a second ago in chat, is that many of you are already teaching cybersecurity in your classrooms and in your schools. Teaching digital citizenship is a great place to start, and it forms the core of cybersecurity, right? Knowing how to keep yourself safe online, being able to differentiate between ethical and unethical uses of computers, that forms the basis for cybersecurity. So you all are all doing this. We saw Common Sense Media and their digital literacy lessons. I mean, digital citizenship is one of ISTE's standards for students. So using resources and ideas from that organization, we really want to encourage and acknowledge all that you all are doing with kids and cybersecurity, especially as uses of technology and devices proliferate through schools. As next steps, we have, as Pauline's been talking about, we've been spending the past 3/4 of a year picking her brain on some of these things, some of these cybersecurity concepts that we can make come to life with Sphero Bolt. Just a little background on Bolt and why we think it makes a great tool for modeling cybersecurity concepts. First and foremost, it's got these two motors on the side, right? And these motors allow students to program Bolt to roll around, and just basic movement can model some cybersecurity concepts and how one robot interacts with another robot. The next thing you'll notice is on the top, it has this little 8x8 matrix. So like that student was doing in that video, they were using this matrix to display information. From there, you also have an IMU, so Bolt can detect when it's been shook, when it's been pitched, or when it's been rolled, or when it's been rotated, and then it can change its behavior based on those inputs. And last but not least, each Bolt has the ability to send and receive IR communications. So that means one Bolt robot can send a message to another Bolt robot, and then you can get into things with a third Bolt robot intercepting that message, or maybe misusing that message. And you can get kids seeing cybersecurity concepts that might normally be hidden inside of a computer. Also, I wanted to mention too, that when you're talking about a sensitive topic, take for example, something like cyberbullying, right? And there might be some real life interactions that kids have had that maybe they just don't want to talk about or are not comfortable talking about. By having a robot, kind of this third-party tool, they can externalize some of these topics and talk about them in a little bit more safe of an environment. So what we've done is we've put together, with Pauline's help, 20 free hands-on explorations that you can use with Bolt to start getting into cybersecurity. They are designed specifically for middle school students. They are focused on the cybersecurity and less so on the fundamentals of programming, like many of our other activities on edu.sphero.com. So what this means is lots of the programs will come with a starter program. So all students need to do is turn on their devices, connect their devices to a Bolt robot, open the program, and then press start. And they'll be seen and then can discuss a cybersecurity topic with their peers. So they're based on this idea that kids don't need definitely prerequisites or understanding some familiarity with Bolt ahead of time definitely helps, but it's not a prerequisite for engaging with the labs. Each of the labs is tied to career pathways, and they're aligned to the recently released cyber.org K-12 cybersecurity standards, which if you haven't referenced, they can be a great framework for looking at cybersecurity through the lens of a K-12 teacher and a K-12 student. The link, which I think has been shared in the chat, will take you to this overview document, give some background information on the labs, but it also includes a list of all 20 of the labs with direct links to these labs. Like we mentioned before, they're all free and openly available. So you just need to download this guide and then you can get started. Let's talk through a few examples. So you've seen this one pretty well in that video before, and you can see like how much we valued working with Pauline. So this first one is about cryptography, or the art and science of writing codes. And it's using this matrix on the top of Bolt to display an encrypted message. It introduces kids to vocabulary like encrypt and decrypt, and a simple substitution, in this case called the pigpen cipher. Kids can then use this cipher to decrypt messages and figure out what this Bolt is saying, as well as encrypt their own messages and pass them to other students. This is the first, I think, of 3 cryptography lessons. Other cryptography lessons go into more advanced ciphers. And then we also have one on modular arithmetic, which forms the basis of encryption in modern computing. This link right here, sphero.cc/pigpen, will take you directly to the student activity. So you can read through the content and see what your students will see. All right, our next example, I think, is you'll see a lot of the labs, we try to set up these little gamified situations where kids can interact with these concepts. So this one recreates a scenario that happens all the time in our modern world. Lots of times kids think about hackers as the bad guys or the bad people. And what we talk about in these labs is that actually hackers can be anyone who develop expertise with technology and then use that technology to achieve their goals. So if their goals are positive, you have lots of hackers that are very ethical and are working to protect themselves and their communities. So in this case, we're recreating the situation where an unethical Bolt is trying to access or breach school data, and an ethical Bolt, maybe someone from the school's IT department, is trying to defend that data. And so you have the unethical Bolt adjusting and refining their attack. At the same time, the ethical Bolt is adjusting and refining their defenses to kind of protect that data.
Yeah, and I just want to add, because someone put in the chat about the white hat and the black hat and the gray hat hackers. And yes, we do have a variant on that. And what's so great about Bolt is that you can change the colors on Bolt so that it can simulate each of the different types of players. And so there's different scenarios and role playing that you can actually do with Bolt, again, so that these concepts become more understandable when they're demonstrated for students to understand.
Yeah. And in this one, we actually have a link to a YouTube video that is a real life news presentation about an actual data breach, school data breach in Texas, to kind of provide the context for it. And then one of our last labs is we're hoping to kind of inspire our next generation of students to be interested in cybersecurity and look at how far it could take them, right? So one of our last labs asked students to research a different cybersecurity career, understand the education and the training that's required for that career, understanding what they would do on the job, and then understanding kind of a career path progression. And then they dress up their Sphero with an avatar, and they present their findings to their peers, right? So it's just, we're saying there are 20 labs, but this one lab is an example of something that could take multiple sessions, could be a week of study. Those are our 3 examples. The last thing I want to say, so go into that PDF and there's 17 more. And the last thing I want to say is just that we just released these on edu.sphero.com in the past couple of weeks, and they're brand new. And I'm really looking forward to hearing feedback from the field about how they work in your classrooms, and what works, what could be better. So please, as you do them, as you read through them, as you use them with students, give us feedback.
Right, and I just wanted to add too, is that with Sphero, the first slide I showed with Bolt works on land and water. And so if you have access to a pool, like you saw my students here at the pool, this is a phenomenal way to also talk about cybersecurity and how do we secure communication in water. So by having the 2 bolts, we're really talking about secure communication between one person and another person, and one person and 2 bolts, one person and 3 bolts. That's great when we have communication on land, but what happens when we have communication on water? So how does that work? And so that's what's really, really exciting, is that these labs can be done on land and on water.
I love that.
And so I think we should jump straight to this poll, Cassie, and then we can take some answers, take some questions.
Yep, launching the poll now. Pauline,
Pauline, do you want to give a little
Yeah.
bit of background information? I'm seeing the poll. Just
Sure,
on what we're talking about here, what we're hoping to gather from this poll.
Right. So what we'd like to know, this was just a little taste test today about some of the things about cybersecurity. We would like to continue this journey with you by giving you more information and more tools so that you can help spread the word about cybersecurity. So this first one is really for teachers, administrators, parents, and staff. We want to know, what type of workshop would you be interested in attending? We are willing to customize a workshop based on your needs. So would you like to learn more of the basics of cybersecurity? When we say basics, meaning just understanding like some of the terminology Todd mentioned today, like encrypt and decrypt, cyber analysis, Wireshark, just basic terminology to understand how cybersecurity works. That's that workshop. Would you be interested in understanding more of the principles and concepts? There was a slide that went over minimization and abstraction. Cybersecurity has 10 principles. And if you adhere to these 10 principles, the book says then your system should be secure. Again, we can't guarantee anything 100%, but there are these basic principles and concepts. So if you're interested in understanding what the principles and concepts are, please sign up for that workshop. Digital citizenship, we touched on a little bit of that today, but there's so much more to know about digital citizenship and how to teach it and how to get kids to understand the importance of making good choices online and that they can take throughout their career. The next one is teaching online safety practices to children. There are a whole set of guidelines of how you can teach children what to do, how to identify flags. If they're in a chat room and someone's asking for their phone number, there are certain signs and things that we can teach them. So that's what that's about. The second one is for administrators only. This is because you're in the seat of making decisions. And so for your school, as we know, most schools today, there is cyberbullying does occur. So we would like to know, would you want some information on best practices for creating, implementing, and sustaining these cyber guidelines in your school? So if you're like a principal or you're in a decision maker, this workshop would be the one for you. There are new laws out now, like you just can't confiscate students' phone. Students have rights, and the state laws vary from state to state. So being aware and knowledgeable of what the laws are, what you can do, what your right is as a principal or a decision maker and an educator, and also knowing what the students' rights are. Students do have rights. You need to know what the new cyber laws are and what some past precedents have taken place. So that would be a very exciting workshop for you to take. The third one is a cybersecurity curriculum options. If you are an administrator and you'd like your staff to be trained on how to administer cybersecurity and integrate it in their courses, either online or in person, or just to understand the benefits of why every teacher should be teaching some cybersecurity, then that's the workshop for you. We'll show you how to design that so you can disseminate that curriculum throughout your school. The next one is for teachers only. These are for teachers only. If you're teaching, these are workshops that you could, if you're interested, on role playing, and teachers would learn how to handle various situations where students' privacy has been compromised. This is very real world. If a student comes and tells you so-and-so, put out on Instagram that I'm fat and I'm not, or they put out something about my gender, what do you do? What are you supposed to do? How do you handle that? There are laws in place. There are guidelines, best practices to help you navigate through that sensitive matter, because sometimes, unfortunately, these matters can be very fatal. And so we don't want that to happen. So this might be a workshop for you.
And Pauline, we got some, I'm just looking at the Q&A. We have some great questions coming up too. So maybe just we'll quickly cover the last three options, or
yeah, so the others I think are pretty self-explanatory. And then the number 4 is, would you be interested in attending some of these in the summer? And again, these workshops are just 45 minutes, a 45-minute capsule. They could be 30-minute capsule, because we're still in the process of really structuring the design.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm going to end the poll in about 20 seconds, but I think we can, while I still have the poll up, move on to some Q&A.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll try to go through these pretty quickly. One question was, Pauline, do you have a source for the stats you shared in the beginning about the kids who were willing to give their information to strangers that we can share, and we can send that out in an email?
Oh yeah, I have that. Okay. Yeah, I have that source. It's actually on the slide, but yeah, I can give that.
Okay. Great. And then we had one, is there something like GDPR in America? Do you happen to know the answer to that?
Say that again, I didn't hear you.
GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, that they have in Europe. Do you happen to know?
I think in the United States, we got it's turned into a much more state-by-state framework, where each state is enacting their own legislation, which makes it a little bit more convoluted than the GDPR European one.
Right. Thank you.
Sure thing. Then we have one. How can we encourage girls to get into computer science, including cybersecurity?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Sorry, I'm talking quickly. How can we encourage girls to get into computer science, including cybersecurity?
That's an excellent question. Well, by the camp, like I said, I run a free camp, and they'll send that out to you again, encouraging them to take part in these wonderful activities, and encouraging them. And that's why we have to teach this, have more of these workshops, and expose them in the classroom. It goes down into the classroom where we teach computers, and we give bolts to everybody, not just the boys, the girls and the girls, boys and the girls both have access to bolts. But it's a big challenge. So it's not one simple answer for that. But I think the one way to begin is just giving more awareness and more exposure and more encouragement to young women.
Thank you very much. And we'll do one more. Feel free to reach out to us if I didn't get to your question. We'll be happy to answer. You can email me or just reach out. But the last one we'll do is, one of my colleagues mentioned that some educators are moving away from using white, gray, black hats due to racism and stereotypes. Can I get your input on this?
Yeah,
Well, that is just, go ahead, Todd, you go first.
I was just going to say that we are, you'll notice in that slide on the types of hackers, that in the labs that we wrote, we used unethical versus unethical hackers as opposed to white hat versus black hat. And then also we have a lesson in there on a person in the middle attack as opposed to a man in the middle attack. So but Pauline, maybe you could talk about it more from the industry perspective about that.
Yeah, I mean, these terms are the industry terms that we do use, but because, sensitivity is high, people tend to, steer away from that. But a hacker is a hacker, and this terminology, the color classification, wasn't meant to classify anybody. It's just a general classification that has been normally used. But since it's been brought to the attention of, educators, we are trying to minimize that by, like Todd said, just saying ethical and unethical. So that's my advice on that.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. With that, since it is a little bit after, I put the giveaway winner in the channel. That is Melissa Clark. Congratulations, Melissa. Melissa, you can reach out to me at cassandra.willer@sphero.com. I'm putting it in the chat to send me your address so that we can get that to you. And for everybody else, we will be sending out these slides, the recording, and since you were present live, a PD certificate link for you to get your professional development certificate. If you have any questions about your bolt, you can reach out to either support@sphero.com, or you can reach out to me directly and I will get your question to the right place. And I think that's all the important things. Anything else? I think I just want to thank again Dr. Mosley and Todd for walking us through these lessons. We look forward. It sounds like everyone's really excited about talking more about cybersecurity. So we look forward to hopefully chatting more about this.
Oh, the takeaway, the takeaway.
Oh, do you want to do it? We're going to also be sending. Do we have a slide for that one? We're also going to be sending out a guide to all of these lessons, all 20, with a note from Pauline.
I mean, the free bolts, because everyone should buy a bolt. Everyone should get a bolt. So I know you said you're giving away a bolt at the end.
Yes, we have Melissa is our winner. And someone asked if the certificates will appear in their email. You'll fill out a form with your information and then that'll generate a certificate for you. All right, and if anyone needs to hop off, go ahead. I think all we're gonna do is just say goodbye.
And thanks for joining. Thanks for taking time in your day.
Thank you for sticking with us these extra minutes, and we're very happy you were here. So bye everyone, thank you.
Bye.